Hello and welcome to another episode of Baughcuts. Today's episode is focused on the poem Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley, and as always, these Baughcuts episodes follow the same structure when it comes to our poetry analysis. It's a structure that replicates the approach we need in paper two itself. We're going to look at the title of the poem, and then we're going to look at three key quotations, obviously today from Ozymandias, from the beginning, the middle, and the end of the poem. So, starting with the title, Ozymandias. Now, we know that the title Ozymandias is the Greek rendering of the name of a pharaoh called Ramesses II, one of ancient Egypt's most powerful rulers. Now, this connection is really significant because it ties the poem to a real historical figure, but also a historical figure known for hugely monumental architecture and also military prowess. But at the same time, the use of the title Ozymandias sets up a profound irony that permeates the poem. On the one hand, the name on its own evokes grandeur and this sense of an eternal legacy, and yet we know the poem itself reveals a shattered statue alone in a desolate desert. It's a poem, therefore, that starkly contrasts this supposed supreme power with the surrounding ruins and endless sands. It's a poem, therefore, that highlights the transient nature of human achievement and also, of course, the futility of arrogance. We should also remember, as careful students and scholars of the poem, that Shelley, very, very prominent romantic poet, was interested in themes of nature's supremacy over human constructs, and indeed the inevitable decline of civilizations. So by choosing Ozymandias as the title, he's not only referencing a specific historical figure, but he's also presenting actually a universal commentary on the ephemeral nature of power and the enduring nature of art and truth. So in short then, the title Ozymandias is a powerful entry point into the poem's meditation on the impermanence of human grandeur, but also, and it is worth remembering this, the lasting impact of artistic expression. It is, of course, the sculptor's rendering of Ozymandias' face or visage. That's really one of the few things that does remain. Now, we're going to move on to the quotations from the poem itself, and we're going to start off with that very powerful opening image of, quote, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert." So the speaker of the poem relays what the traveller saw, the ruins of a once gigantic statue. The image of two vast and trunkless legs immediately conveys the notion that the statue is broken. Only the legs remain upright and the body or the trunk is missing. These legs are vast, indicating the original statue was enormous and clearly built and designed to impress, a symbol of the king's power. But without a torso or upper body, the monument is now pathetically incomplete and, as a result, rather ineffective. The fact that they stand in the desert emphasizes the statue's isolation and desolation. There's nothing around but a kind of empty expanse. This stark setting underscores a key theme, the theme of impermanence. Nature, perhaps symbolized by the desert, has outlasted and reclaimed the works of man. The image evokes a sense of fallen grandeur, decayed grandeur, something mighty reduced to fragments. It introduces the poem's central conflict, our human desire for legacy and dominance versus the eroding forces of time and nature. Thematically, the lines highlight the temporary nature of political power. The once impressive statue of Ozymandias, a hugely powerful pharaoh, as we've discussed with the title, is now just a pair of stone legs with no body or head attached, symbolizing that no matter how vast one's empire or indeed one's ego or self-image, it will eventually crumble. Shelley uses the imagery as a symbol. The broken statue symbolizes the inevitable decline of all leaders, all civilizations, all empires. Perhaps something Donald Trump might want to remember from time to time. Ozymandias' might, all that's left, remember, is legs without a centre, is reduced to nothing. It's mocking the arrogance of those in power. And that word trunkless is particularly evocative. A trunk, okay, the kind of body, suggests strength and core, the kind of centrality. And its absence, as a result, implies the core of his power is gone, leaving behind nothing but hollow remnants. It's a quotation that sets the stage for the poem's meditation on hubris and decay. The lonely, fragmented statue in an endless desert vividly portrays the poem's message. Even the greatest monuments to human power will eventually become insignificant ruins in the face of time. So, next quotation. A very famous one, wonderful one. My name is Ozymandias, king of kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Now, these words are the inscription on the pedestal of the statue, meant to be read by all who pass by. In them, the pharaoh, Ozymandias, speaks directly in a voice that brims with pride and authority, and, dare I say, hubris. King of Kings is a biblical-sounding superlative title, indicating that Ozymandias saw himself and wished to project himself as the greatest of all time, the greatest of all kings, above any rival. It is a claim, therefore, of almost godlike supreme power. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair is a command and a challenge addressed to other powerful people, ye mighty. It implies that his accomplishments, his works, his cities, monuments, achievements are so impressive that they should inspire despair in anyone who thinks themselves great, because they could never, apparently, equal what Ozymandias has done. The tone of the inscription is boastful, it's imperious, it encapsulates, it's a wonderful embodiment of that theme of hubris. However, in the context of the ruined statue, these words become deeply and radically ironic. The traveller has just described that nothing of Ozymandias' works really remain, they're just ruins and sand. It's something that's going to be emphasized again in the next few lines. So while Ozymandias intended these words on the pedestal to signify his eternal greatness, the reader instead recognizes the hubris and the folly of such arrogance, since all that supposed grandeur has crumbled. The phrase King of Kings also has a subtle irony in it too. Shelley could be invoking the idea that only time or God himself could truly claim that title, and Ozymandias was but a mere mortal, like you and I listening to this podcast or delivering the podcast, okay? But he was a mortal, unlike you and I, who presumed himself to be godlike. This quotation, then, is the dramatic centerpiece of the poem, highlighting that theme that power is transient, it's fleeting, it's ephemeral. The mighty should indeed despair, but not for the reasons intended by Ozymandias himself. They should despair at how even the mightiest king of kings is now nothing but a name on a broken pedestal. Even the alliteration, king of kings, and the strong imperative verbs look and despair make the inscription sound commanding and grand, and indeed grandiose, which only heightens the fall when we see that reality does not match the words. Ozymandias then, Shelley, through the poem, allows Ozymandias to effectively condemn himself with his own pride and hubris. In short, the inscription is a classic example of irony. Ozymandias' attempt at immortal boasting becomes an unintended testament to human frailty, fragility, and the leveling forces of time. Okay, last quotation. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. Now, these lines follow the inscription and deliver the poem's final, striking image. Nothing beside remains is a blunt statement that, after the pedestal, with all of its rather vainglorious inscription, there is nothing left of Ozymandias' empire or works. All the great things he wanted people to look on are gone. It immediately undercuts it. I like to say it punctures the pomposity of the boast in the pedestal inscription with a tone of emptiness and finality. The words decay, or the word decay, emphasizes that what's left of the statue, and by extension his legacy and power, is in a state of ruin and decomposition. Colossal wreck is a poignant oxymoron. Colossal implies immense size and former glory. Wreck denotes destruction and ruin. This juxtaposition, it's a wonderfully clever juxtaposition, highlights how something once huge and seemingly permanent and indestructible is now just wrecked. Boundless and bare, lone level sands stretch far away. These paint a picture, they conjure an image of a vast desert expanse. Lone and level, boundless and bare, that use of alliteration gives the lines a form of rhythmic emptiness. It's a boundless desert. It's going on forever. It's bare. It's empty. It's a stark contrast to the once bustling cities and monuments Ozymandias might have ruled. Lone and level sands suggests a flat sameness. The desert has literally leveled any distinctions. So the power of nature and time is at full display here. It has both flattened and reclaimed all of Ozymandias' works. The final image reinforces those key themes: impermanence, the hubris of power, and the inevitable decline of all human achievements, even this podcast. Nature, embodied by the sands, is indifferent to human glory. It simply endures and covers all. The once colossal statue is now dwarfed by the endless dunes. Ozymandias' story, then, is distant in both time and space, almost forgotten, except for this cautionary vestige. In short, these concluding lines drive home Shelley's message. No matter how mighty you might be, time and nature will reduce your legacy to dust. The emptiness around the ruins is a powerful reflection on the fragility of human grandeur. The mighty should despair not at Ozymandias' works, but at how completely those works have vanished. The ending leaves the reader with that lingering image of isolation and the silent testimony of the desert, underscoring the poem's deep reflection on the ephemeral nature of power.